We've seen it over and over again. People spend decades getting ready for retirement, and then they land in retirement. And because of bad habits, they're now unhealthy, unfulfilled, and really unhappy.
You know, retirement doesn't fall apart because of one big mistake. What happens is over time, a lot of bad habits creep in and they roll up to a lot of mistakes.
So today we're going to unpack some of the most important bad habits you need to make sure you don't fall prey to. Is that a good word? Prey?
Pray to.
Pray to. Pray to good habits. That's what we're talking
Pray
about
tell.
here today. So when we first retired, we went deep into bad habits. We really screwed up, and we've done a lot of videos on this before. And, you know, we want to share with you today some of our mistakes, some of the mistakes we see from our clients that they make on a consistent basis. And the first one...
Wait a second. Did we fall deep into bad habits, or did we just bring...
No, we didn't fall. We dove headfirst off the high dive into the deep end.
I actually think what we did was we brought habits, I guess bad habits. We brought bad habits from our youth and from our work years, and some of them made us successful in work, but in retirement, they no longer played.
Okay, so...
Because I wouldn't say like we started bad habits. Like we didn't all of a sudden start, I don't know, what's a bad habit? We didn't all of a sudden start eating bowls of ice cream every night.
No, we were doing that before we retired.
We were not.
We just kept going. All right, so when we go through this list,
Okay.
and we have a list we wrote down, and it's right here on the screen. Okay? As we go to each one, you tell me whether or not that was a bad habit of ours.
Okay, right.
Okay, the first bad habit is believing this time of life is all about rest.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
did we really believe?
So
or did
at the end, we're like,
oh,
we just
finally.
want our time back. We don't, no more meetings, no more driving to work. We just want to watch TV and eat.
Never said that.
And eat bowls of ice cream.
We never said either
You
one
did.
of that.
You
Nope.
did.
Nope, not owning that.
All
Nope.
right.
We never said that. I think that
We did believe
were...
rest was important. We felt like we needed rest. But after resting for a week, we realized that's not going to work.
I do think that you're right, that we did believe a lot of the marketing around the fact that now is your time to rest. Resting started to make us lethargic. Lethargic started to make us kind of irrelevant and not exciting or happy or fun to be around. And it kind of went into a loop that we couldn't get out of for a while. So I don't know that our goal was to rest, watch TV, and eat ice cream, because neither one of us ever said that. And you guys probably don't say that out loud either, I wouldn't think.
It's the inside voice that you have to be careful of, which is the next one, which is you cannot ignore your mental health. The self-talk.
So this is going to be a video where Jody gets cut off all the time. Is that what we're doing?
No, but I think the ice cream,
Okay.
I liked eating ice cream. I liked my chocolate chip cookies. I just told you recently to stop making those really awesomely good
Dark chocolate.
homemade
Power.
dark chocolate,
Protein
protein-packed
Reese's Cups.
Reese's peanut butter cups. Unbelievable. But I gained 5 pounds over the summer. And you keep, because...
And he thinks that was the Reese's Cups.
Oh, boy. All right. So...
Could have been the fried chicken.
I don't do fried chicken anymore. Oh my, that's another thing.
Okay,
Rule
come on,
number
back,
2.
back.
So we're ignoring your mental health, the self-talk, when you're in your career, you don't really have time for any of that. But now that you have free time, you start to think a little bit about, should I be having the ice cream? Should I watch more TV? How's our relationship? We did start fighting more. Would you say that?
I would, yeah.
Yeah, we got frustrated with each other. We got short. Well, you got short. I just had to be more patient.
Right.
Was that no? Oh, you don't want to spend time on this one? Okay.
No, but I do think, and we're kind of joking about emotional resilience, which we should not be joking about, because if your emotional roller coaster highs and lows were really super dependent on your job, your career, and the people that you served as clients or customers or whatever it might be, your team, if it was really tied to that, then you end up in this place where you don't have the highs and lows tied to that. You do find yourself adrift emotionally, trying to figure out where your self-worth lies. And that is a real thing. And so, all the joking aside, emotional resilience is something that you can't ignore.
No.
And so, one of the bad habits that, would be ignoring that.
And, it just came to me, what's a piece of advice that we could give when I'm feeling sad or depressed or uneasy, or, I'm not really good at confrontational type discussions with Jody. So I need to start those discussions really with a warm up by saying, I want to share something with you. I'm not feeling really well about a couple things, and I just want you to listen to me. I don't want to be fixed. I might not even want a response, but having a safe place to share where you're struggling is critically important, whether it's your wife, your husband, or a good friend. You got to find that place.
Absolutely.
All right. The third bad habit is avoiding change, being afraid of change, just saying out loud, I don't like change. Honestly, everybody likes change. It just has to be the right kind of change. And if you're feeling sad or you're feeling like, something isn't right, then think about change in a good way. Change yourself in a positive way.
Yeah, I don't know that everybody likes change. There's a lot of people that, really thrive in the sameness of their life. And some of the people in our family, some of the people that we love most in the world are very much like that. I think the challenge is if you have the next 20 or 30 years, you have to get comfortable with the fact that growth is awkward for a reason.
Right.
So when you're diving into something new or meeting people new or moving to a new place or trying, a new hobby or starting, a post-career, part-time, whatever it is, it's going to feel awkward because that's growth. It's going to always feel awkward. That's not a reason to shy away from it.
No.
But change is constant, right? We've all heard that in business. We've all heard that in our life. We've probably even heard it in faith-based organizations, sermons or homilies or whatever. But change is an important part of life. So the quicker you can grapple with it, the less chance you have of becoming the grumpy old person.
Well, the other thing is, too,
I think
you need to fight through the discomfort. You need to embrace some change so that your life starts to get larger than it is now instead of smaller. Because if you stay the same way you are for 20 years, your life's going to get really small fast and doors are going to close. And then you're going to feel like you have a problem.
Right.
Hey, in the notes below is our free download, our 1-year checklist for retirement. So if you're in retirement, you've been in it for a couple of years or thinking about it a couple of years from now, it's a great sheet to download. It's a nice checklist to prepare yourself for this phase of life. And even if you're in retirement for a while, it's good to look back and say, I missed this, and I really need to add that in. So download that next.
The next bad habit is starting your day without any intention, nothing anchored on your calendar. You might be able to do that 1 or 2 days a week, but 7 days a week, 4 weeks in a month, every month after month, you start to feel a little aimless, a little clueless, a little invisible, a little not worthy. And it's not a good way to meander your way through your retirement or your discovery phase.
And we had that in the beginning. We retired on a Friday, December 28th or 29th. And that first Monday, it was kind of cool. We got out, watched TV, had coffee. Tuesday did the same thing, went out to lunch with friends. But waking up without that either alarm clock or that need to go to the office or any structure at all, days turned into weeks, turned into months of being somewhat lost, frustrated, and not sure what to do.
Yeah, I do remember that. There are ways to balance it. Mark and I talk about this. Mark is a structure plan person, and starting at 4 a.m. when he wakes up till, what would you say, 8:30 at night when he goes to bed, there might be 1 or 2 hours that don't have something attached to it.
Well, to be fair, yes,
right,
where there's downtime, but I'm not like working the whole day. I plan on going out to go hit golf balls. I plan, go clean the boat, clean my car. So I just know. Are you laughing at me?
No,
I felt like you were.
No, I like to give myself some softballs, like
go pick up the cleaning. It sounds like a silly thing, but if it's on my list and I check it off, I feel great.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You tend to write down every action throughout the day in your day timer planner.
Yeah.
So, it is, pick up the laundry, get myself some lunch, wash the boat.
Tell Jody I love her every
I've never
5
seen
minutes.
that one. But, and I more so jump on the bandwagon in the morning that what we're talking about right now, starting my day with intention.
Right.
I like, from 12 to 5. I like that being my retirement time without anything on my calendar. And if a neighbor says, do you want to grab a cup of coffee, or do you want to go to lunch, or do you want to do a walk, or do you feel like hitting the beach? Like, I would rather have that flexibility. So for me, I've got a foot in both arenas. You're all sunk into planning.
Yep. It works for me.
Yeah.
I need some structure.
It does.
The next bad habit is comparing yourself to others. Other people on the journey. Maybe they're further ahead, maybe they're further behind. But you've heard the saying, comparison is the thief of joy. And it is. Stop comparing yourself to everyone else. Compare yourself to yourself. And just embrace and be in the moment and enjoy the life that you have. Sure, it could be better. And if it can be better, what do you need to do to make it better? But looking at someone else saying, gosh, I wish we were more like them. They do a lot more travel. Well, if we decide that we want to do more travel, we're just going to do more travel. Well, but just looking at the fact that they are and we aren't, are we really missing out on something, or are we just comparing and realizing, well, we don't really want to travel that much. Well, we travel enough.
I think the social media culture, we have to remind ourselves that everyone's putting things on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever your social media platform of choice is. Everyone's putting things on there that's their best day, their best look, their best emotions, their best connections, their most beautiful pictures, all those things. And I think that's part of the societal comparison. You see someone who's, on a helicopter, someone that's on a boat, then they're, at a safari, and then they're on a beach, and then they're laughing with like 19 friends, and maybe 10 of them, and you're thinking to yourself, why am I not included? And, so there is this in your face comparability with social media. And it takes a lot of discipline to pull yourself out of that. And I do think that it's important to, be completely confident in your own journey and relish and celebrate other people's journeys along with them without comparing.
I like that. All right. Next thing you want to make sure you're not doing is isolating yourself without realizing that you're doing it. Isolation, I don't know if I'm going to get the facts straight. We talk about this a lot, but isolation, feeling lonely every day for 2 weeks, is called chronic loneliness. And that is more dangerous and more detrimental to your health than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And it causes heart disease, kidney disease, liver disease. The stress and anxiety that you put on your body when you're isolated, you don't even realize what's happening, but it's happening. So if you're feeling lonely and starting to really get better at understanding what that means and what that feels like, you've got to do something to undo that. Don't just ignore it and think, well, I'll watch another episode. I'll watch another 4 episodes and sit there and just get lost in TV day after day after day, not have meals with anyone, not talk to anyone. It's a huge problem in society.
I think it's hard for humans during this phase because you do disconnect from many things. So there's a natural disconnection. So it's incumbent upon us, whether we have a spouse, partner, or significant other, or if you're a solo retiree, it's difficult, but it's incumbent upon us to reach out, to be the connector, to put yourself in places. And I think that it's really hard to do. And I know on times when you're traveling and you might be gone 3 or 4 days, as soon as you leave, I get that solo feeling, right? So you get a little like, what am I going to do? And I always make sure I have things anchored in my calendar to do, like that first day that you leave.
Yeah.
The second day that you're gone, I isolate a little bit. I actually enjoy it. predict because I don't get a lot of time alone. I don't get a lot of quiet time. And so that's my kind of isolation day. The third day, I have to really kick myself in the ass to get out there to, get back to the gym, get back out with friends, make some lunch appointments, get myself kind of moving.
Right.
But I go through the 3 phases of that when you leave on a business meeting.
What about the 4th phase?
When you come home?
No.
Then I get all joyous.
No, that's the 5th phase.
Oh,
The 4th phase.
I don't know.
When you start to miss me like mad.
Well, I do. But, I know we get a lot of comments on the channel that we could never understand being a solo retiree. And I believe you, and I honor that. I really do honor that. I just know that I know a lot of solo retirees, and we've coached quite a few, and I know that it's hard. But I also know that you are the only motivating factor that can change the hard.
Right. The other bad habit is taking a back seat to learning and growing. If you forget that learning is important and helpful to your life and helpful to your soul and your mind and everything else, then you're going to struggle in retirement. One of the best habits that you can pick up is try to find some path to learning a language, learning an instrument, volunteering and learning a new skill, doing something on the computer, learning something new, understanding ChatGPT. You can't pick up your phone or watch a news article anymore without hearing about ChatGPT. Get curious about it. What does it really mean? Maybe that's something that you can do, but stretching your mind and learning something is really critical in this phase of it.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And we're also at a technological advancement stage in the world where you can go to YouTube and learn almost anything. You can pick up a course at a university or a college or a community college or, an organization halfway around the world online. So it's no longer that you have to physically be present somewhere in a classroom to learn. There's so many opportunities, and I don't know that we all exercise the ability to find ways that we can learn, and grow and build that, cognitive muscle even stronger.
I agree. Here's the next one. A bad habit that we brought through our retirement with us was eating and drinking like we were still 40. And it just doesn't work. When you're 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, your body cannot handle the same amount of alcohol and the same quantity and type of food that you ate when you were 30 and 40. It just doesn't work. So thinking that you can still go out to dinner at 8 o'clock at night and order dinner at 8:45 and eat at 9:15 and have a bottle of wine and go to bed at 10:30, you're not going to get good sleep. You're causing all sorts of problems in your digestive system, and you're stressing your body when you try to sleep when it's trying to digest all this food and alcohol. So that's a big change that many people struggle with because it is hard, but it becomes a mindset and then a body set. Once you start to eat less, eat earlier, drink less, you start to feel so much different. And then that becomes your new normal.
Yeah, you have to kind of change the language around I deserve it, like I deserve this glass of wine, to am I going to regret it? And Mark doesn't drink at all, so we'll stick with alcohol for a second. I've been sober curious in various different stages of my life. I still enjoy a glass of wine. If I have 2, I know my sleep's going to be affected. If I have 3, it's kind of like a disaster. That is a far cry from when we were in work and I was buying bottles of white to start, bottles of red to finish, and kind of moving through an entire dinner, a late night dinner, with a lot of, a cocktail before and then some wine. So it's important that you listen to your body and that you understand what you're ingesting. We talked yesterday about, this vehicle you have called your body. The vehicle you have sitting in your driveway called your car. You make sure you take it in for maintenance. You make sure the oil's changed. You wash it, clean it, keep it updated.
Fill it with gas.
Fill it with gas. So that vehicle versus this vehicle, I would suggest this is the more important vehicle.
Yeah.
And we kind of discard that.
I don't know. Jody has this great saying, and I'm sure it's not your saying or mine, but it's not the 1 hour in the gym that's important. It's the next 23 hours outside of the gym. It's really more important. What you eat, what you drink, any more walking you do, how you hydrate. So it really is important.
Yeah.
The other bad habit, and we're all guilty of this one level or another, either it's out in the open or it's hidden in drawers, but letting clutter control your space. And some of our most popular videos are downsizing and decluttering. And if you haven't watched them, find them on our YouTube channel. They're really good. And we go deeper into the pitfalls of clutter, how to declutter, the importance of decluttering. But if you come home, every time you come home from wherever you are, and you walk into a mess, whether you know it or not, it's creating stress and anxiety that you really don't necessarily need.
Yeah. And, the clutter, visually clutters your mind. A lighter look is a lighter mind. And that's not to say to get rid of things that are wildly important to you, but to challenge yourself on what is wildly important to you and what can you get rid of and how can you declutter space.
Another bad habit is to lose the importance of a gratitude practice. If you can find a way to be grateful about even the very smallest things in your life, as far as I'm concerned, that's one of the most powerful antidepressant, positive excitement exercise you can do by getting up, for example, in the morning, first thing, and write down 3 things you're grateful for. I've been doing it for 7 years, and the first one is always Jody. Something about Jody that I'm grateful about. And then the other 2 could be anything, I don't know, about we're going away for the weekend or something, or I'm looking forward to going out in the boat tonight. But when you do that every day, all of a sudden now the bad things that come your way, you've almost put up a shield to prevent them from really affecting you in a negative way.
We were telling a story yesterday to a client who said, okay, Mark has this list of gratitudes and, he writes them down every day and he's very diligent about them. In retirement, what changed for you, Jody? And it's a small thing, but what are you grateful for? And I thought about it for a hot second. And I said, honestly, I went through 35 years of working and raising kids, and I don't think I ever had a hot cup of coffee.
Oh, I remember that story.
And I said, I'm grateful in retirement that I make a cup of coffee and I don't have to race to wash and dry my hair and put my makeup on and take a sip and then get my clothes out and take a sip and then pack lunches and take a sip. And by the time I dump it in to go to get in the car, it's not even iced coffee because it's not that good. It's tepid coffee that's like bleh. And I said, it's interesting because when I wake up in the morning, I drink my water first because, try to rehydrate before I jump into coffee. But I really, really am grateful for a hot cup of coffee.
Yeah, so think about doing that.
It sounds so silly.
Yeah, think about doing that as a daily practice. I mean, it's amazing that even something as little as that you've had coffee your whole life.
Right.
But now it's part of your ritual in the morning to have that cup of coffee.
Hot.
And you're sitting there. You're not in a car driving to work.
And I'm not multitasking. I'm literally like enjoying a hot cup of coffee.
Yeah. Another really bad habit, and I would say, I don't know if it's the most important one, but it's a top 3 important part of this phase of life, is ignoring your physical movement can mean the difference between dying in 10 years and 20 years. And the last 5 years of your life, that's when most people get the most sick. And it's typically a disease like heart disease or kidney failure or something like that. If you can move 20 minutes a day, 5 days a week, 2 things will happen. Number 1, you'll live longer. Science proves that. Number 2, and more importantly, or just as important, is not just lifespan, but health span. So your last 5 years, your last 10 years, you're able to get up and walk around and not fall down and trip and, have your bones get brittle. So it's so important to make this part of your daily routine.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does so much for your body, of course. It does a lot for your oxygen intake. It sometimes helps you drink more water because you get thirstier. So it's hydration. And then it's certainly your mindset. I mean, all exercise, all of it, you never, ever, I guess I'll say never, ever, leave the gym and say, I feel worse.
Yeah.
Unless you're sick going into the gym and you've depleted yourself.
Yeah. So this whole thing we're talking about now is not about perfection. It's really more about awareness. Are you aware of everything that we just talked about today? Because if you're not, and hopefully you made some notes, you can change the way the rest of your life looks. So let's take a look at some questions that our team put together. Here's one from Phyllis. Phyllis is 66 years old. How do you find balance between structure and freedom without feeling stuck? Well, it's funny. I feel stuck when I have too much freedom. When I have structure, I don't feel stuck at all. I feel like I'm alive. I have things to do and I have a path to run on.
She's asking about balance, though. And, Phyllis, I would say structure the part of your day where you feel you need it most. And for me, it's to structure the morning and then to give myself my retirement afternoon. So for me, it's part structure, part freedom.
That. All right, here's a question from Tom, who's 71. Which daily routines made the biggest difference for you after leaving work?
This is your bread and butter.
This is my bread and butter. I've worked on this for 10 years and I continue to evolve it, but I don't have a morning routine anymore. It's a ritual. And I get up early. And I'm not saying you have to get up at 4 o'clock like I do. But what you should think about doing is getting up every day at the same time. So if you typically get up between 7 and 8, maybe you set your alarm for 6:45. And try that. So you're getting up 15 minutes earlier, but it's the same time every day. Now, you definitely need to figure out when you're going to go to bed because you want to get your 7 or 8 hours of sleep.
Right.
But getting up at the same time and start to do some basic changes. The first thing, 12 ounces of water. Room temperature water. If you want to put a lime juice in there, a lemon juice in there, that's great. That's the best thing you could do for your body in the morning. The second thing you can do is some journaling, your 3 gratitudes, 1 self-affirmation, something positive about yourself. Write down the 3 things you're really excited about for today and your 5 big action items that you want to get done. As you go through that and grow, you can add in meditation, you can add in reading scripture, but that little core thing could be a great start of every day, and then you feel great. You feel like you've accomplished a few things.
Absolutely. I think that's great.
All right. Evelyn, who's 73. How do you handle the guilt of wasting time in early retirement?
We have a lot of clients that have picked a time frame. So I think you feel like you're wasting time when there's no end game to, let's call it your gap, right? Your gap year, your gap month, your gap 2 months. We're coaching a woman right now in our masterclass that we just ended. And she has purposefully decided November 1st to January 1st, she's taken a gap. She's going to try out retirement. And she has it scheduled so that the first couple of weeks, she's really going to try doing nothing and feel like whether or not that's going to work for her. She's picked up working out. She's picked up some spirituality routines that she's going to incorporate in. She's got children, so she's incorporating in some relationship things, but she's got a 2-month window.
Yeah.
So it's not like I've retired and I'm going to do nothing forever, because that no longer feels like the big flex.
Yeah, get it. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this video. This next one, 4 habits to break right now before you retire, is a great video to watch after this. So watch this one next.